Hello everyone, bringing you a video today talking about this. And this is a fairly typical Officers Service Dress jacket from the Second World War era. In fact, this example is dated 1941, and it's to a lieutenant of the Royal Engineers. Now, the lieutenant's rank, of course, is shown on the epaulets there. We'll have a look at that in detail in a minute or two, with the two pips on the epaulets there. The fact we know it's Royal Engineers, we have, of course, the Ubique bursting bomb collar badges there, and Royal Engineers buttons. The features of the uniform are, as I say, something that's been fairly constant in British officers' service dress uniform from the latter part of the First World War, when the majority of regiments and corps moved rank from the cuff up onto the shoulder, to the modern day, essentially. The features have modified, the cuts changed a little bit over the years, but the actual look of the uniform beyond that has remained fairly constant. So we have the lovely scallop pockets here, see pleated pockets there. In contrast to First World War service dress, the skirts have been reduced quite considerably. We have obviously the pockets here, the big bellows pockets on the hips there, and then obviously you've got the nice detail on the cuff here with the point to the cuff there. What makes this particularly interesting though is the fact that it has formation badges on the arms, on the shoulders for 14th Army, and we'll move this around now and have a look at those. So looking at the left hand side here, we can see the badge up on the arm there, and in common with tropical uniform, it was very common to do this. These are actually attached with press studs, and now if I'm very careful, I should be able to remove, just going to be very careful with these, the badge, and you can see we have 3 press studs there. We'll have a look at this in detail now. Here you can see details of the 14th Army badge on the arm of the uniform, and you can also see further detail of the little press studs that have been used to attach it. And this method of attaching insignia was very common on tropical clothing, using press studs, or formerly hooks and eyes. It was not uncommon to see badges attached with hooks and eyes. For laundering purposes, badges and so forth, embroidered badges in particular, didn't hold up well to the type of very energetic laundering which tropical clothing received out in the Far East, from Dobie Wallers and so forth. So it was very common, and of course the frequency with which clothing needed to be laundered. So it's very common to see insignia attached in this way. It's relatively unusual to see it with service dress. I mean, obviously this is a wool uniform, it's not going to be laundered in the same way as the cotton tropical uniform, but it's possible this has been done to allow the badge to be moved from tropical uniform to the service dress and switch around. But it's just an interesting feature of this particular, otherwise unremarkable service dress, and I'll see if I can put these back on here. This should be a little easier in theory. There we go. There we are. And as we'll see when we move this round, the insignia on both arms has been attached in this way. You can see the pips up on the shoulder there, and you can see also just around here with the skirts, as I say, much reduced from the First World War service dress we've looked at previously. And obviously with the belt hook here for the set to help support the Sam Browne belt. We'll move this round now and have a look at the back. Looking at the back of the uniform here, we can see the single seam down the rear here, and then the single vent. You can see the lining material there, which we'll see in more detail when we turn this inside out. And that's the back of the uniform, as I say, essentially following the same sort of design, but slightly modified in terms of the cut. Quite nicely taken at the waist here. This fits me very well, which is rather lucky. I'm quite slim, so I tend to be fairly lucky with period uniform in that regard. Yes, that's the back of the uniform. We'll move this around now and have a look at the right. Here we have the right hand side of the uniform, and as I'm ashamed to say, this does need a press. I've not pressed it since I purchased this, so this does need a press to get the creases out of it. But you can see here again the insignia on the arm, and once more this is attached with, prise these off here, just trying to be very delicate because the stitching's a little bit fragile. You can see attached with press studs again. So an interesting little detail there, and the 14th Army badge is a really nice design. The shield with the sword, and the sword forming the eye of the XIV, is a really nice badge design in my opinion. So I was very happy to be able to pick this up. We'll have a look now at the detail of the collar badges, the buttons, and the pips on the epaulets there. Here you can see detail of the epaulets, and we can see the 2 pips representing a lieutenant here. And then you can see detail of the collar badges, the Ubique bursting bomb collar badges of the Royal Engineers. And we can see detail of the buttons here, which are the core buttons of the Royal Engineers. Here we'll take a look at the inside of the jacket, and you can see in the front here we've got the lining, and we've got the 2 inside breast pockets there. This one contains the tailor's label, which we'll try and get a close-up of here. See, the jacket was tailored by Hector Pow, Regent Street, London, and you can see the name there of Mr. P. Clegg, and underneath the date, which I believe is 16th of the 5th, 1941. So that's the label there on the inside, and it's nice. These do often have dates on them, which is very useful to know exactly when the garment was manufactured. You'll see on the inside here we have less pockets than the previous example of officer service dress I've looked at, which was a 1918 dated 1917 pattern Royal Artillery officer's uniform, which has lost the watch pocket and so forth. Service dress by this point is not the same field garment that it once was. Though obviously still a working uniform for various different roles, it's no longer being worn in the field. Battle dress has taken over from that point of view. So obviously you've lost some of those features from the uniform. We'll turn this round now and have a look at the sides and the back. Look at the left hand side here, just get a better look at the sleeve lining there. You can see just to take a look at the internal details there. Obviously slightly different lining material, different colour on the sleeve. And then we'll take a look at the back here. You can see the way the vent is worked in there at the rear. The lining is coming away a little bit at the collar. I'll need to do some stitching there. And we've got the hanging tab there, which again is coming away. So I need to do some repair on that. Another little job that many of these things get hung up and then not forgotten about, but these little jobs just go by the wayside. I think at some point this has had a label glued in, possibly for theatre or something like that. I'm not entirely sure on that. It's slightly tacky, so it's presumably glue from relatively recently. I believe this did come from a theatre company, a wardrobe department, surplus to requirements, so that's possibly what's been glued in there. Maybe something giving the sizing details or something like that, but it's been removed now. I will have a go at removing some of that from the lining material just to clean it up a bit. So there we are. That's a look at a fairly typical British Army Officer Service Dress jacket of the Second World War. Just has that particularly nice detail there of having the 14th Army badges on the arms, in a very nice detail, and not one you see particularly commonly. It's nice to see that. As I say, I was very pleased to pick this up from that point of view. The Royal Engineers are an interest to me as well as a corps, so it had both of those things going for it, and it is a really nice, very tidy jacket, which whilst it's out I'm going to take the opportunity to give it a press and get some of the creases out of the arms and things. So there we are. I do hope you found that interesting, just running through this. If you do like my uploads and you'd like to see more, then do consider subscribing to the channel. There'll be more of this sort of thing, more modern kit, older kit coming up soon. I try and vary things a little bit, more videos on the way, of course. If you've already subscribed or you're new to subscribing, do make sure you hit the little bell. Make sure you select there to be notified of my future uploads. If you really like my uploads and you'd like to support the channel, you can do. There's both Patreon and PayPal link down below, and thank you very much to everyone who supported me via those two methods. It's really very much appreciated. Thank you very much indeed. There is, of course, also the Facebook, Instagram, and now Twitter as well, should you wish to follow on social media. Links to all three of those down below. And there's also an email address, should you wish to get in touch with me, send me photographs, ask questions and things like that. It's one of the better places to do that, and I check the inbox regularly to make sure I'm keeping on top of things. So if you want to drop me a line, there's that option as well. But that's everything I wanted to cover in this video. So until next time, bye for now.